Okay, so some of you guys that are watching this video are inevitably watching from the country known as Canada. Now, I've been to Canada once and I enjoyed my time there, but what I'm learning recently about like your government and your elected officials, bro, y'all gotta do a better job. I found this video that dropped a day ago that says Ontario NDP calls for public safety zones for drag performances LGBTQ plus community. Now you may think, oh yeah, what's wrong with, keeping gay people safe? And I agree. Listen, before we even get into this, firstly, I want to say that obviously everybody in any country should deserve protection, right? Like, if somebody's getting assaulted or, I don't know, some guy has a bad day and drops a brick out of his apartment building and that brick lands on somebody's head and crushes their skull, yeah, that guy has to go to jail. So nobody who's against, what we're about to look at in this video is saying that safety doesn't matter. Because safety does matter. And keeping people safe matters a lot. But what they're about to say in this video for what these people think should be the law in Canada is so psychopathic. And we're gonna play this. As you can see, I got a lot of hate. But let's just read the description before we play the video. Ontario NDP MPP, no idea what any of that means, Christine Wong Tam announced on a Tuesday morning that she was introducing a private member's bill that would allow the province's Attorney General to temporarily designate addresses such as where drag, show, or LGBTQ plus event is taking place as community safety zones. The problem is how they define a safety zone is like insane. But yeah, let's play the video.
What we do know is that hate crimes are oftentimes underreported. And even though it is underreported, what I've heard from our drag communities as well as their audiences, it has been alarming. I'm just going to list a few of the cities that we know and municipalities that we are aware of where protests anti-2S LGBT extremists have taken place.
Okay, before we get into anything, this acronym, what the f is this? 2S LGBTQI+? Can I redeem this for a fucking Steam gift card or something? This looks like something that would appear after I scratch off the end of a fucking gift card with a quarter. What is 2S? What is QI? They keep making this thing longer, which I find so ironic because what they're doing is they're trying to include more people, but the longer they make the acronym, the more the people that aren't in the acronym are gonna feel excluded. Like when it was just LGBT, everybody who kind of went to that community who wasn't represented in the acronym probably didn't care, but when they add all these other ones, the people who now aren't in that acronym are gonna be like, what the hell? You have 2S in your acronym, but you don't have the letter Z? Second thing, I think using children as political pawns is one of the lowest and scummy methods to get your ways. Like this kid obviously doesn't know the inner workings of the legal system or how laws get passed or anything, and they've placed her in front of the podium next to the speaker. When politicians do this, it's so lame because you're sort of using this child as like your pathos, like you're trying to get the audience to feel some type of way, some type of sympathy for you. Also, I know I said I was only gonna say two things, but third thing, this whole drag thing is so funny to me because if you actually know the history behind drag started as a meme, okay? The beginning of drag was like in the early 20th century in American theater. Guys would basically get up on stage and dress up as a girl for like a punchline. The whole thing was like, oh wow, look at this dude, he looks like a girl, like this is strange and unnatural. So I just think it's funny. It's like, I don't necessarily understand why somebody would go to a drag show. I'm not saying you can't, and I'm not saying that it's like the end of the world if you do or anything, but it's like these new drag shows, they're basically meant to be like super empowering and like in these displays of like pride and whatever, but I just really don't see the appeal. A lot of the times the performances too are like way too sexual, so it's basically just like going to a strip club, but like the stripping is a little bit less bad and it's just gayer. So it's like I would never go to a strip club, so I would never go to this either.
They've been targeted in Hamilton, Welland, Fort Erie, Guelph, Kingston, Kitchener, Gravenhurst, Brockville, Peel Region, Elora, Lambton, Sarnia, Sudbury, Sault Ste. Marie, North Bay, Pembroke, Pickering, Orillia, Whitby, Dryden, Ottawa, Woodstock, Peterborough, and right here in Ontario's capital, Toronto, the biggest city. For months now, as the 2S LGBT critic, I have been repeatedly asking the Ford Conservatives for their plan on what are they going to do to keep this community safe. I've asked them public questions during question period. I've spoken to the ministers in private, trying to urge them to take real action because we need real action to keep our community safe. Their replies have been consistently vague, unfocused, and ultimately unhelpful. The drag communities are done waiting for this government to take real action in effective ways, and so is the Ontario NDP. This is why this afternoon I'll be introducing a new private members bill, co-sponsored by the other NDP Queer Caucus members, MPPs Terence Kernahan, Lise Bourgeois, and Jill Andrews.
Okay, so before she says what she's about to say, I need you to turn on your listening ears. I want full body listening like you were taught in school, and pay very close attention to every single word she's about to say, for what she's about to propose should be the law in Canada.
We are joined here also with NDP MPP caucus members Sarah Jama as well as Chris Glover. This new legislation in Ontario is...
Hold on, this angle is so funny. Look at the cast of characters here, dude. We've got a guy with a fucking cape on. I just don't get it. Are you trying to be taken seriously right now? I mean, at least, display some form of professionalism. You got these guys, dressed up like it's, Halloween, and you're expecting me or the average listener to take this seriously? This explains the like-to-dislike ratio. If you dress like clowns, you're gonna get treated like clowns. At least in this environment, right?
Designed to keep the 2S LGBT community safe. Drag artists, their audiences, the business, and the facilities that host those drag performances have been put at risk. And unless we put forward a strategy to protect them, Ontario's social, economic, and cultural richness is under attack. We have to protect that. The proposed legislation does two things, and I will go through them.
Listen up.
Firstly, it enables the Attorney General to create a 2S LGBTQI+ community safety zone to prohibit within 100 meters of the property any homophobic, transphobic act of intimidation, threat, offensive threats, offensive remarks, protest, disturbance, and distribution of hate propaganda within the meaning of the criminal code. It also comes with it a penalty of $25,000 if prosecuted successfully.
Okay, that was a lot. We're gonna talk about that. So she's saying that because, I don't even know the statistics, but let's just say a couple psychos have violent tendencies, they go to a drag show just to hurt people, disgusting behavior, absolutely horrible, right? There's definitely a way to solve this issue. I mean, you have to get to the root cause of what makes somebody want to do that. It's mental health, it's isolation from society, it's not having a purpose in life, you understand? There's a lot of things that make violent people do violent things, and it's bad, and I agree that you should look at, people who want to do physical harm to gay people. It's bad. But this just makes no fucking sense at all. I mean, you're gonna make a safety zone, an invisible safety zone, where if I walk into the safety zone, if I'm walking by where a drag event is taking place, and I'm with my friend, and I'm just chuckling, I'm that's kind of gay. If somebody overhears me say that, they could call the cops on me. I could get arrested because I made a quote offensive remark, and I have to pay $25,000 because I offended somebody. I mean, think about that. You have to pay $25K if somebody decides in a court that, yes, we deem you guilty of offending somebody. I mean, come on. Your goal is to stop violence, right? And your solution is to fine and arrest people for being offensive. Dude, come on. Also, this is so vague. What defines an offensive remark? What defines hate propaganda? Can an edgy meme be hate propaganda? And also, these offensive threats or whatever. What if someone just says something ironically, what if somebody makes a joke? This is so dumb. This is literally anti-free speech, of course. But it's also totally subjective. What defines an offensive remark at all? Let's play it back one more time.
Of the property, any homophobic, transphobic act of intimidation, threat, offensive threats, offensive remarks, protest, disturbance, and distribution of hate propaganda within the meaning of the criminal code. It also comes with it.
I will give my channel away to a random subscriber if this gets passed and stops any form of violence.
A penalty of $25,000 if prosecuted successfully. Secondly, the Act creates an Ontario 2S LGBTQI+ Safety Advisory Committee to provide recommendations to the provincial government on how to improve safety for our community and to prevent further hate.
Well, yeah, then you should do that. You should actually do the safety thing. Which, by the way, I don't even understand, how are these violent attacks even happening? Does Canada even have guns? If you've gotten rid of the guns and you've gotten rid of, everything, and now you're doing a safety zone where you can get arrested for saying, oh, this looks gay or something, and there's still gonna be a problem, maybe you have to actually address the root cause of why people are doing this stuff. If they're even doing anything. I don't know the statistics. Also, what if they actually deserve to be protested? Like, what if this drag space is doing something where it's like ages 5 and up can go, but the thing that they're doing is like borderline stripping or stripping? Are you going to allow any voice of dissent on that? Like, what if I go there to protest that and then they deem that to be offensive? Or, you know, I'm not allowed to protest because I'm in the safety zone. You're discouraging any legitimate form of dissent against what people may consider to be immoral or unsafe. I feel like the best way to go about this whole thing is, instead of creating an imaginary safety zone, why don't you assign more police officers to an area where this may be happening? Like, wouldn't that be the best solution? One more thing that you may have overlooked. She said the safety zone, the safety box, would be 100 meters long. That could extend over to some random restaurant that has nothing to do with this drag thing. Like, if you're eating food at a restaurant with your friend, and then you say something about the drag thing in that restaurant, you could still get in trouble. I mean, it's psycho.
We need to be able to have the government publish an annual report and an update on the progress of this work. It is that critically important.
Apart from the glamorous, dazzling, and wacky characters I play on television or in venues around the world, I also deal with the very real struggles of homophobia, hate crimes, and acts of purposeful intent to intimidate and now disqualify who I am as a person and what I do as a job. I contacted Kristen Wontam's office, where I met with them and Marit Stiles to discuss these horrifying bills that are being passed around the United States and how it is rapidly starting to affect our communities right here in our backyards. These threats and intimidation tactics are very real and happening all around us to people we love and care about. Even in recent weeks, I myself have been victim to hate crimes and hate speech. I'm a professional drag queen who loves what I do more than anything in the entire world. Drag is all about spreading love and acceptance and allows people to feel empowered and special. Drag artists and trans people have an inherent right to live freely and authentically in their truth. Everyone wants and deserves to feel safe and valued in their work. That is why these recent acts of organized protests and hate speech need to be halted and condemned immediately.
You kind of look like a Skylander. Wait, I'm sorry, is that homophobic? Like, am I allowed to even, like, make any sort of observation about the way you present yourself? Like, that's the thing. I don't even know. Like, would that get me arrested? Like,
Acts of hates, windows are being smashed, property is being damaged, queer families are being targeted, our ally families are being harassed by these protesters. Queer hate crimes have skyrocketed since recent
You do realize that protesting is totally legitimate, right? Like, are you just anti anybody who disagrees with you? That's so insane, dude. Making protesting and basically disagreeing illegal is psycho, bro.
2S LGBTQIA plus bills have been introduced in the U.S. Drag artists are becoming afraid to go to work. Venues and bars fear protests will occur during drag events, resulting in loss of revenue and unnecessary added costs. Trans people are being told that they need to be eradicated from this world. We are being forced into fear, and we cannot let fear win. We will not let fear win. A world without trans people has never existed. A world without drag has never existed.
Like, are we just lying now? A world without drag has never existed? Buddy, that's just wrong. Spreading misinformation on the podium is crazy. Why don't you take a sip of one of those 2 beautiful glasses of water right there and sort of, like, rethink what you just said? A world without drag has never existed? I mean, like, that's just not true, of course. Have you heard of, like, the Paleolithic times? When we were Neanderthals, do you think there was drag? Obviously not. And listen, again, I'm not saying that, like, this has to go away or this should be illegal, right? All I'm saying is that they shouldn't make people who disagree with them basically criminals. I mean, like, that's what I'm saying. I'm literally being in the center on this. I'm saying, hey, do whatever you want, right? But don't get kids involved and don't arrest people who disagree with what you do. That's it.
And it never will. Queer people have always been here amongst us. They are our coworkers, they are our brothers, our sisters, they are our mothers, our fathers, they are our families. Drag is art, drag is culture, drag is educational, drag is creative, drag is comedy, but drag is not a crime.
And I mean, listen, and the video just ends there. I agree that it's not a crime, but disagreeing with it is? Like, what are you talking about? Also, drag is educational. I mean, what do you learn from this? Like, you're not learning natural mathematical logarithms or anything. This is just, like, a waste of time, I think. But, anyways. Yeah, just, thought I'd talk about this because I don't want to get arrested if I go to Canada. And, you know, this was 3 days late from April Fool's, so unfortunate. But yeah, with that all being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you're new to the channel. Comment down toaster if you made it to the end of the video. Follow my social medias, links are all down below, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.